Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Performance Cafe and our Coffee Companion series. Today I'm spoiled to be joined by Sylvia Lohr, who was for very many years a customer of mine in one of the previous companies that I worked from. And she's here today to share with us our coffee, our biscotti, and a lot of learnings, because this lady has a lot to tell us. So Sylvia is coming from the analog world and living in the digital universe. She understands transformation and its requirements. From there sprouts her passion for holistic and integrated B2B marketing strategy. Teams and customers, she believes, rely on her agile and lean processes to analyze situations and to express possible solutions. She believes that success can only be realized as a team. And on that note, welcome, Sylvia. It is great to be speaking to you again.
Thank you so much, Innocent. It's a pleasure talking to you and meeting you again. It's really, after all these years, it's great. So, world is very small.
It is. And today I'm glad for that. So, Sylvia, that introduction doesn't tell us a bit about the meter behind your whole career. And I mean, we worked together for so long. Tell us a bit more about yourself that bio doesn't cover.
That's a tricky question, Innocent. Usually everyone talks about strengths and success. So it's so easy, right? So I do the same in my bio. But what I've learned is that strength and success is not given by granted. So it's really something you can only earn through experience, learning curves, and difficulties. So those can be personal or also very much on the professional level. So really, to be honest, I still believe in the good of everyone. And I heard usually in the past, I heard about intrigues, people lying, etc. And I thought I might be alerted prior, it might happen to me. The days when I realized that it happened to me, like really it felt like a tsunami, are definitely covered in my bio. However, as tough those situations were, they made me stronger and even more proud about my own achievements, which I again shared in my bio.
That is an excellent way of looking at it. And I suppose that's it. We all want to talk about the good, but I really love that you say, actually, it's those challenges that make us grow. I think with us ladies, look, I know you and I are both only 20, but I know with people who have a little bit longer tenure than we have, the nature of performance has changed in businesses. Do you agree? And where do you think that's coming from?
Yeah, I agree. I think the nature and the definition of performance has changed. And I think the talking about performance has changed. However, yet, I think the new way still needs to be executed and realized in a lot of companies. So people are talking about it, but it's not there yet. So I think in the past, performance metrics were supposed to be hard facts. You'd been measured against numbers defined by a management team or based on past experiences and market assignments and assessments and estimations. But during the course of the past years, due to remote work, agile and lean management methods, and also increased globalization, these techniques must be changed. So you can't only get measured on numbers, but also need to consider the team spirit. What does it take to be a motivational, integrated team member and also integrating team member? So what are the soft skills that are more important to overcome intercultural differences and in virtual teams, as we talk about, as that globalization and working across borders? Mm-hmm. So I think finally, especially this year, has also shown how important it is to be courageous, trying new things and thinking out of the box and be willing to take responsibility, which again needs to be measured totally different than in the past.
I hear you. And I think, wow, I mean, there was just so much to explore in what you just said. I really love this whole concept of yours that it's about the team. I think, I don't know about you, but I personally feel that a lot of emphasis was placed on individuals in corporates of the past. I'm not talking about now, I'm talking about, in our past tenure. And that the problem is we created independent players. We never built our teams.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. I think team is key, and the understanding of how important it is to be a member of a team. And, I think remote work, it has started years ago. It became more stress this year, and it won't go away. It is the future. It is the future of working. And interesting enough, what I've seen in so many cool so-called hip companies calling themselves agile and open-minded, they'd run big offices and require their employees and teams to work from there instead from home. And, when we talk about teams, we also talk about trust. And, requiring people working from an office, for me, it's a clinch. It doesn't fit together, because remote work requires trust on both sides. And this is also what makes team spirit and what makes working in teams so important, having trust. And it doesn't mean it's an interruption in communications. And as said, since March, I think we've seen tremendous increase in home offices, and the trend, at least here in Germany, it's clearly to remain remote work. So the trend is probably not only caused by COVID, but also by cost savings. And last but not least, companies have recognized that they can trust their employees. Finally, eventually, I'm very happy to see. So this brings new style of communications, team working methods, and finally, performance benchmarks. So, but don't get me wrong, right? Remote work is tough though. You need to get more self-disciplined. And believe me, I'm doing it for about 20 years now. So you need to get self-disciplined, structure your day, and you need to find new ways of staying connected with your teams and other networks. And however, it will never replace the very meaningful face-to-face meetings and experiences. And I'm so glad having Teams, Zoom, Slack, now with the video conferencing, which is a great step ahead. So it's very important.
Amazing. So I agree with you. Again, you've put so much in there. I could keep speaking for hours, but can we just talk about this trust? How do we, and you'll see I changed our title to remote work and employee performance, because the nature of performance has changed, I think, over the decades, as we've seen. But I think, as you said rightly, this remote work performance thing has just been amped up to such an extent that we can't move around it. So I wanted to ask you about, how do we create trust in remote work so that we can use that to create better performance?
That's a very good question, in a sense, because I often ask myself how to achieve trust. So within myself, but also with others and for others. I think trust is always part of being open-minded. And I think it's also always part of believe that others might have the same goal than you do. And it's also kind of be a little bit courageous to I don't want to say lose control, but to allow others to take control and to take the lead on something. So trust is also something I found very much in Agile and Lean management, because although a lot of people are talking Agile and Lean, they are not living Agile and Lean. And for me, trust is also the base for agility and Lean management and working together. And it's also a kind of, communications. How often do you communicate? And when it comes to remote work, sitting together in an office, you've got your preset meeting dates. So you meet in room XYZ at 1 p.m. and everyone shows up, and everyone sees that everyone is in the same room. While when you're working remotely and you've got now the video, it is also something, building up trust so that everyone is really courageous to open the video camera, to even show what's behind yourself, which might be part of your personal life, right? Yeah. So I think this all is part of trust and building trust, and keeping people and people's personality and respect them as they are. I've got so many thoughts about that question.
Keep going. So you just said something that was so meaningful to me. I never considered that people don't want to put on their cameras because of a lack of trust.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
That's very interesting, because I am exposing myself. I'm not someone who's camera shy, but I'm also not the kind of person that if I'm in a meeting, you have to put on your camera. I just trust that you, as a responsible adult, will be listening to me and be doing what you need to be doing. But it's quite interesting. I never thought of it that way. So I want to just stay on this trust topic. And so often in our experience, well, in mine at least, I was part of an office-bound team that had flexi work. That was easy to create trust. But what do we say to management who now has to start a team entirely from scratch with everyone working remotely? How do I build trust between the team members?
Well, I could see there are different ways to come over that and to create trust. So what I've seen in our team, in our current team, for example, we started working remotely and just met once last year. And in that team, there were people working together for 6, 5, 7 years without even meeting in person until last year. So then we met all together in one room, and it was like, wow, paradise, right? You can imagine how loud it was. It was like, gosh, I recognize your voice. So that was unbelievable. And then, Corona came and everyone was stuck back at home. That kind of experience helped a lot to stay within that team spirit. However, since then, what I'm seeing is that at least our team of 6 people is even becoming closer due to that remote work circumstance everyone has, meaning that there is a ground base, everyone is in the same situation. While prior, some people were in the office, having their own team, their network, while others like me being at home for 20 years now, working remotely, have a kind of lack of that kind of spontaneous networking opportunity, which you have in an office. Right. So right now, being on a remote working level, it's the same for everyone, which is, I think, the very first fact to share across the team, saying, listen, everyone is in the same boat. So we know how to feel, because you might maybe not be that experienced with home office than I am. So that's the first. The second is, I think, also really to listen. Listen, okay, now that you are in the home office, maybe for the very first time, what does it mean for you in your personal circumstances? Do you have an office? Or do you need to work from the kitchen table? Or do you need to work from the living room table? So that kind of understanding, and ask people how they are, but also ask people when might be the best time to go on a video call, because maybe you've got kids, or you've got your dog, or you've got something different, right? You need to take care of, which you don't have in the office. But then also, don't force people to go on the video, but ask them, are you okay to go on the video? Maybe we can start you and I first, and then get it, around the team. And also what we did in the team, we started with a fun part. Every weekly meeting, we are starting with a fun part. So everyone is coming up with a fun virtual game, which is so great, across regions. So we are talking about someone in the US, someone in UK, someone in Southern Europe, someone in continental Europe, someone in Australia. So we have a multicultural team, and everyone is coming up with one different part game, one different fun game. So we learn a lot also about the cultures, which is really great. So a lot of these tiny things can help.
Wonderful. And I hear what you're saying. I think that is the biggest loss, is one almost wants to create a virtual water cooler so that people are sort of forced to have social, non-work related interactions.
On the water cooler stuff, this is really something a colleague and I, we have started already last year, even before pandemic, saying, okay, we need to have that 30 minutes break for her and me, just to have something out of professional, right? And when we started this team efforts in the past 6 months, I just came up with the idea, you know what? Why not finding 1 hour slot on the day where America can start with a breakfast, we in continental Europe are going with lunch, and Australia is coming up with a midnight bowl. And this is such a fun part. We're doing it once in a while. It's such a fun.
That is an amazing idea. So everyone's having a meal together. Which meal is a little bit random, but it's all the meals together. I do like that. And you mentioned something very crucial that I think in some companies, they're only learning to work remote now, so they're working remotely but locally. How do we deal with all the different cultures when we're working globally? We've got people who are not native speakers of the language. So, for example, a lot of corporates will have English as the main language. That's not their native tongue. Cultures are different. The way that gender roles are seen as different. Stereotypes are different. How do you transact and how do you get a team to work with that?
I think this is really nothing only for remote working teams. I think this is a topic independently of how and where you're working. It is an important fact for every intercultural team. And coming across those different mentalities, those different cultures is challenging. But again, I think you can overcome that once you really allowing communications, once you really starting thinking out of the box, get people or motivate people to share some of their cultural stuff, such as, tell me something about your city you're living in your speed, because yes, you need to now talk in English, although it's not your native tongue, but take the time you need, right? Let's think about what could be helpful for you to overcome that kind of language barrier, that kind of stuff. But it's not only for remote work teams, it's everywhere. And I've seen it a lot of times while, I'm working for American companies, felt like, I don't know how many ages, right? And it's always, being a non-native speaker, it's always a challenge when you're in a room with a lot of English-speaking people and, getting heard, find yourself, find your way through that kind of team spirit in there. I think it's independent, as said, of where you're working in a team.
I hear what you say, and actually your message is so relevant because, for example, I know that you probably work with people outside Germany, so not America, but people in Europe who are similar but still dissimilar. In South Africa, we have 11 different languages that people speak. Yes, most people understand at least one of the two major languages, but even that, we tend to look at cultural differences. Like me and another country. Sometimes we are intolerant to our own cultures and those next door. We don't spend enough time investigating those.
Well, that's a very important aspect. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. At this point, I just want to deviate a little bit, and I'm not quite sure how this fits in with the rest of our topics, but I saw something around nonviolent communication. What do you mean by that?
Well, I'm really glad that you asked that because this is really something I'm passionate for. So nonviolent communication is a way of living. It's not really communication as is, but it's really, it's a behavior. It's a philosophy, and it's originally it's coming from Marshall Rosenberg. I need to check the name again. But it's from a person in America who really found out that with words you can hurt people, and you are very violent when it comes to words. And the basic of that communication style is, what is your ultimate desire you would like to live for and you would like to be seen for? And it's not about changing others. It's about learn yourself and get yourself better understood by yourself, understand what you need, and then communicate that your needs to others, saying, okay, how can you help me to finally achieve my needs? Is there a way we can do it together? So instead of very often you see when people are talking about a topic, one is saying, my car is broken. Then someone is saying, well, for sure it's broken because you I don't know, you don't know how to park your car, so it's for sure that you've got that accident. This is violence, right? Instead of saying, okay, what do you mean? Why is your car broken? So leave that topic at that person and work with that person on a solution. So this is Wow, as said, it's a philosophy. So this is everyone who is very much into nonviolent communications. Hearing my statement here would say, "Oh my gosh!" So this is just maybe one nano about that. So it's really it's a life philosophy.
And a beautiful one at that, as it links through to this concept that you were talking about understanding different cultures close to home and far, because understanding and tolerance comes from questions, not from judgments.
Exactly, and this is all about nonviolent communication. No no judgment at all. Not not thinking about, okay, this is good or bad. There is no good and bad. It's this is the person's culture. This is the person's mentality. There is the reason why that person is doing that. So if I don't understand it, then I would like to understand. I'm asking the question, why have you done it? Instead of, okay, you did it. This is wrong.
Love it. Okay, so other than nonviolent communication, your other passion, agile methodologies, how does that even help performance? Isn't it just another system that we have to learn that's a fad that we're probably just going to get rid of later?
So I think agility will last. So it won't go away anymore. It's just a matter of understanding what agility is and what it means. And when it comes to performance, I think the requirements of agile work are different, and so the performance metrics and measurements and methods must be different. So agility means, again, it all comes back to the same point, right? Respect, being open-minded, taking responsibility, and share, and don't get afraid and get concerned about sharing your knowledge and working with others to finally achieve the goals. So I think agility is really something. It came out of the software development, but it can be taken wherever. And honestly, I've met a lot of people who are living agile and agile project work for years already, even without knowing that it's agile, including. So, I've learned about agility long time after I really found out, oh gosh, I'm living it for years already.
Wonderful. And agility, for me, I've not studied it formally, but for me, I do feel it's more about honoring outcomes than trying to track tasks. Am I correct?
Yes, exactly. It's really, to oversee the overall project, not the overall project, but the result. So it's really, and it comes back to the trust and the team spirit, right? So at the beginning, it's really important that everyone in the team understands the goal, the objective of that one. It can be a task though, but there is one common agreement on the objective, and then everyone is really following that objective, and everyone feels responsible to finally achieve that objective in the time given. So instead of really working in silos, and everyone, in the past, everyone get, this very old-fashioned project plans. So there's Innocent being responsible for the budget. There's Sylvia being responsible for some blah blah. There is I don't know, someone else being responsible for the event, right? Take one, which could be budget. What does it mean to have the correct budget? So who is taking care of that one task, budget? And then finally, after a couple of days, you're coming back as a team and have achieved that one common goal about budget, which could be your name.
Wonderful. So what I really love, what I'm hearing there, is that we're taking responsibility and putting it in the hands of the people that we've hired, instead of trying to hire people and then kill ourselves to make things work, which is terrible for motivation and terrible for performance.
Yeah.
So you also mentioned a concept of you really enjoy lean. How does the lean philosophy help us with performance in business?
Well, I think it is, first of all, it's important that hierarchies are not healthy. So hierarchies are important when it comes to separate level of responsibilities. Not everyone can run a business. Not everyone can run or take the same level of responsibilities when it comes to budget, to HR, to you name it, right? But that's important, right? However, Lean is really not thinking in hierarchies. Lean is everyone is coming with a different experience, maybe a different, as that again, culture. Idea, and it's all about heterogeneous teams. It's really about, okay, let's sit together, independent of where you're coming from, independent of the level of your experience. We've got the one ultimate goal. We have it identified for our task, and now let's see what else we maybe need to review, what else we maybe need to put into place to get that task finally completed. So this is lean management for me, at least, right? It's not that someone is sitting there and saying, okay, I'm the project lead and I'm looking forward and I'm looking behind everyone in the team doing that right stuff. It's really, okay, let's do it all together in one team. For sure, there's one who's mainly responsible for the budget. There's another one who's mainly responsible for X, Y, Z. You define it as a team.
Okay, perfect. So those two actually for you, the Agile and the Lean, works very well hand in hand. So that's fine when we are talking regular business, because regular business can be measured by regular numbers. But talk to us a little bit about performance. How do you measure it in the creative context and the creative world?
Yeah, and the creative work means that the performance measurement and methods must be creative as well, right? I think this is also thinking out of the box, respect the creativity, and be open-minded to think about new measurements. So instead of having the hard facts, you need to generate XYZ leads. This is one part. It's important, right, when it comes to sales. However, it's also important to see, okay, what have you done? What have the individual done for the team to finally achieve the overall goal? Or when it comes to creative work, such as, I've just launched a total new LinkedIn influencer campaign, and this is totally new. I don't know the outcome, but the measurement is definitely how many new views might we have generated, or new contacts might we have generated, but I don't know yet. So I think this is also something performance measurements must be open. So there's a basis, sure, hard facts, but anyway, performance can also be measured on non-known facts. So for me, I think, very often I have seen that creativity is being stuck by performance because they are hard facts, and everyone is really running against those hard facts and is not courageous enough to think about new creative ways because there is no benchmarking in place. Instead, for me, it's, okay, don't stop thinking creative. Be creative and then think about the benchmark and then see what you can really measure out of those things. I don't know if it makes sense and if business leaders would like to hear that, at least.
So what I would like to ask you is, so we've had this discussion, so I get where you're coming from. I've had more than a short discussion with you on it. But could you give us, for example, a more concrete example of how would you build that measure?
Yeah, I think I understand where you're coming from, what you would like to hear. It's probably about my business theater idea I had. So, several years ago, when I was working for a global consulting company, actually when you and I met, right, the very first time, I was very lucky to work with a real great leader, and she had trust in me to really start with something totally new in the market. And at that days, it was 20 years ago, it was really thinking out of the box. And that kind of thinking and trust in me really, helped me to further think about creative ideas. So years later, I was thinking, everyone is using PowerPoint. Everyone is using slides to present trends, market research, numbers, you name it. And honestly, I became a little bit bored about those presentations. And so I was thinking, okay, when I'm getting bored, maybe others as well, right? So I was thinking, okay, how can we maybe present hard facts in a more human, in a more interactive way? And then I was really thinking about, okay, there's business theater. Business theater is mainly known out of coaching and coaching and e-learning environments. What I did is I created a whole new universe for some CXOs in a bank in Germany, and we only had 30 minutes to come across to transport messages about the new customer of future for financial services. We had 7 actors, we had 7 stages, we had 2 main stories we really presented on the stage within 30 minutes. So no one really knew what to expect out of this kind of live session. And you must imagine there were 20 to 30 CXOs, all male, not 20 years old, a little older than 20 or 30 years old. So really kind of more conservative, right? And when they entered the room, it was like, okay, what's going on here? And it was, for me, the very first initial measurement was seeing in their faces the reactions. And then after that session, we had an applause, which no one had in the past before. We had received feedback in written that this was really totally outstanding. And this is a kind of new performance measurement. You know, how deep inside, or how deep have you really transported those messages? And then finally, again, when it comes to hard facts, we created even content which could have been used and integrated into any other multi-touch communication campaigns. So we didn't know about all these performance measures when we started that new project. It just came while we really presented that. And I think it's really something very interesting to learn. At least it was great for me to learn a lot.
That is actually amazing. That story fascinates me, and I know that's why I had to ask it again. What you said there that was really interesting to me, that I think is maybe something that we can learn from that experience you had, is maybe the adaptability of performance measures in general. Maybe that's something to grasp onto. Instead of saying the way we would, this is what we expect and this is what we're looking at, we can say, well, this is what we expect because this is business and we do need some standards and norms and rules and regulations. But let's also measure all these other things as they come along and see what do they tell us so we can be agile and grow. Maybe we didn't do this, and this that we hoped we had, but maybe there's other measures that show us where we've had successes that maybe translate back to the same thing, or show that we've improved, or whatever the case may be. But is that viable in your typical corporate?
Good question. I think it's a little bit, well, it relies a little bit on yourself, on your personality. If you are open to just try it, just because it's not being tried before doesn't mean it doesn't need to be tried. Or why should you stop your own creativity? Try it. Yes. Go out there, try it, and then see what will happen. And and this is also something what is part of agility. Go out there and try and learn, and rather learn fast and maybe fail fast and change fast instead of not trying at all.
Yes, or hanging on in there and slowly bleeding something to death. I'm so with you. So your business theater idea was something great that you did in the past, but what exciting initiatives are you on to now?
So actually, I've got a lot of ideas in my brain. I'm very excited about the new virtual event. I'm trying to build and establish our awareness in the German-speaking market for Nuance. The company I'm working for, it is the so-called Digital X. It's an initiative by Deutsche Telekom, and actually, it's been used in the past as a live event for their business customers. But now, due to COVID, it's virtual. Well, virtual events are not really that new stuff, but it's totally new because they are digitizing a whole hotel and conference rooms and everything. And this is really something very exciting for me, for us in the team. It's really something totally new, and no one knows what to expect. We don't know the numbers. We don't know the success out of that. But one of my biggest success for that already is that the entire sales team is so excited about it, and everyone is really buying into, to spend time on that virtual event to learn and to see how it works. So this is really something I'm working on for Nuance. On the second part is also something very exciting with a colleague, and in the meantime, a very good friend of mine. She is living in the States. And we just found out that we've got so many things in common, although we are totally different. So she is Puerto Rican, living in the States. I'm German, living in Germany. So it couldn't be more different, right? But this is the charm of this thing. So we were thinking about creating a common blog. And just before you and I started this call, she and I had our water cooler, and we were thinking, well, we've got so many things to share, just thoughts, and we are, finally we start talking to each other. Why not just recording those as a kind of podcast? In which we are just sharing, what we are thinking about the election, what we're thinking about COVID, what we're thinking about new creative ways. So this is something, in addition, on the personal side, what I'm going to work on in the next couple of days and weeks, probably.
That is amazing. And you know what I really like about that is, I think the world is so full of formal communications where things are very scripted, where things are very formal and very corporate. And I've got quite a thing about mentoring. And I don't particularly enjoy the concept of mentoring only women. I think we must mentor everyone to equality. But what I do love is how many young women are there that don't have access to people who have corporate background, who have many years of experience in business, and have access to that level of information. And, without themselves being Harvard educated or whatever the case may be, So I think it's a great initiative to also empower those young ladies that, they don't have the necessary credentials yet.
Yeah, I think it's all about sharing, right?
Yeah. Well, talking about sharing, I have to ask you, do you have one great productivity tip for us?
That's tough because I don't have one. It's very, it's
a million.
It changed from day to day, right? It really depends on what happens during the day. So one thing is really in the morning, just go through my calendar and think what is the most priority and the major priority of the day, and try to get and to keep stuck on that one priority. Sure, be open-minded and agile and change it. But anyway, always try to go back to that one main priority and not more the day, just one. And it's tough enough to keep that.
It is because once the emails open up and the phone starts ringing, there goes the day. But I hear you. Thank you so much for that. So Sylvia, thanks so much. As always, it has been so great to spend time with you. If anyone would like to reach out to you and talk about anything that you've mentioned in this video, is there an email address we could share with them?
Oh, sure. I am very happy to talk to anyone. So it's the best, my private email address. It's sylvia.lohr@t-online.com. Thank you so much, Innocent, for showing it in the show. This is really great. But also, you can find me on LinkedIn, on Xing for the German-speaking audience. So yeah, very happy.
Wonderful. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to when we have a chat again. And I hope that will be very soon.
Yes, thank you so much, Innocent. Please take care. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, Sylvia. So everyone, yes, yet again, I keep saying this, but so spoiled to have time with such a magnificent lady. Thank you to Sylvia for contributing an hour of her time today to sit and chat with us and take us through, the important aspects of of how do we use these new technologies, specifically like Agile, to create the performance that we need. As always, if you've liked this episode, there is more on our YouTube channel. Go and look it up and like and subscribe. If you're following us from LinkedIn or Facebook, please like there, follow us, and leave comments and share, please, because we would like everyone to be able to have access to all this information. And until next Tuesday, when you and I will be chatting solo, it will be a quiet chat, just you and I look forward to seeing you again at the Performance Cafe.